Tourism Oversight Forum, which will then help us to ensure that we have a presence in every village, in every township, in every informal settlement, in every small town throughout South Africa. So that we can then be able, when we do oversight, to say to the executive, there's this list of villages throughout South Africa. They are not benefiting from tourism, the townships, the small towns, same thing. So that we can push the agenda to make sure that from an economic perspective, specifically based on tourism, the people who are languishing in poverty also benefit something. And as a committee, we are not calling for the dismantling of what is existing in the form of tourism economic activities patterns in Gauteng, in Western Cape, and in KZN. No. We are not calling for that. We are not saying you must now stop the tourism economies which are existing in Durban, in Cape Town, Johannesburg, Pretoria. We are saying the time has now come to allow tourism, because it can sustain itself in the big cities. We must now begin to shift our focus to a village, to a township, to an informal settlement, and to a small town. So we are now going to give Ntate Dr. Kuzwa an opportunity to do a presentation on the paper we had developed, which is in the form of a framework, which was sent to provinces. I hope provinces have gone through it. And then we can have a discussion. The other matter we're going to be dealing with today is some kind of small briefings from provinces on how they are working and the extent to which they have made progress in giving us information that relates to the total number of villages you have, the total number of townships we have, and the total number of small towns we have. Because if we don't quantify, honorable members, if we don't quantify and get the real true numbers of these villages, the townships and the small towns, will not be able to drill down deeper in as far as doing oversight on the executive around tourism is concerned. Will not be able to advance the cause of making sure that the people on the ground can know where the opportunities within tourism are, so that they can participate as entrepreneurs in the tourism sector. Over to you, Ntate Dr. Kuzwayo. And with that, members and our counterparts in provinces, you are welcome. Ntate Kuzwayo, proceed. Proceed.
His mic is unmuted.
Unmute.
It's a recap, Chair. Thank you. We are saying the recap of the meeting we had with the provincial legislatures when we first discussed the issue of LETOFO. And honorable members will recall that there were inputs made by provinces in the concept paper and the terms of reference. So I'll just present a redacted version of that concept paper and the terms of reference. The detail is in the document itself. It was circulated to the provincial legislatures together with other documentation. So I won't be dwelling much on the terms of reference per se. I will concentrate more on the objective. Then I'll cruise through the other issues in the TORs due to time constraints, Chairperson. If you can scroll down, Sureshni, to the objectives, scroll down again. The introduction has been covered basically by the Chairperson in terms of why there was a need to develop this structure. So the purpose mainly is to align and strengthen oversight over tourism development and marketing between Parliament, Protocol Committee of Tourism, and the provincial legislatures. It means between Parliament and any other body that might assist in coordinating tourism led by the chairpersons in their jurisdictions in provinces. So the objectives, therefore, one is to institutionalize the arrangements in terms so that we have a structure that might coordinate between Parliament and provincial legislatures to strengthen oversight, and also to identify important areas of cooperation among the executive or the departments, and work together between the departments and the oversight arms of the state to ensure that those cross-cutting issues are addressed. If I can make an example, Chairperson, the Legislatures Tourism Oversight Forum might, for example, identify issues with the Department of Transport in terms of road infrastructure, in terms of licensing of vehicles, in terms of the airlift strategy, in terms of AXA, which is the entity of transport, and say these are the issues that do not necessarily reside within the Department of Tourism, but affect provinces. Then we will then, as the Legislative Tourism Oversight Forum, look at how then dealing with this issue together with the provinces, we can then strike a balance in terms of what the executive does and how that filters all the way to the provincial level. That will be important because if you look at what is happening, for example, with the airlift strategy, you'll find that you have provinces that are far ahead of others in terms of the airlift strategy, and others are lagging behind. So if this forum then says this is one of the areas of cooperation that needs to be addressed, then it will become, for example, like a standing item so that you can track how airlift is coordinated among provinces, therefore at a national level. So another objective is to facilitate the adoption mechanism, then to say, okay, once we have identified these issues, what will be the mechanism to then deal with those issues? And then you are looking at also promoting and facilitating collaboration and cooperation in the oversight across the legislatures itself. Because what happens normally when Parliament goes to provinces, for example, they are not accompanied by the provincial legislature. So this forum will ensure that if Parliament goes to a particular province, in a collaborative and cooperative manner, the provincial legislature is part of the delegation and oversight work that is done by not just Parliament, but the legislative sector as a whole. Therefore, the purpose will be to integrate provincial legislators as integral part of oversight work done by Parliament. And that will assist in promoting constant communication amongst all stakeholders, because if Parliament conducts this oversight and the legislatures are there, it's easy to then get to municipalities, even to the villages and townships, as the chairperson was outlining earlier. But also is to share best practices and benchmark, because we find that some provinces are doing better in certain areas, others are lacking. For example, you'll find that if you look at the province like Limpopo is far ahead in terms of domestic tourism, while others are far behind. There might be issues that make Limpopo to be far ahead. But as a group, the legislative sector can then look at the best practices in terms of such issues, and then have learning from those to say, how then do we move forward from those benchmarking exercises. Moving ahead, next slide. Can I have the next slide, please? Then now we are looking at the roles and responsibilities. In terms of funding, we're saying the LETOFO will be funded by Parliament, but also the respective legislatures, depending on where the meeting will be hosted, because mainly the funding will be in terms of venues, maybe, and refreshments of meetings. So it's not a huge cost. It will be, if, for example, the meeting is held in Cape Town, Parliament has to provide the venue if it is hosted by Parliament. But if it is hosted by the Western Cape government, then Western Cape will have to provide venue and refreshment. So it's mainly around the logistical arrangements of the meetings. And in the main, then the role of the forum, one is to provide a platform for the legislative sector to discuss national, provincial, and local tourism issues. Also to serve as a consultative structure. If there are issues, for example, we're dealing with COVID-19 at the moment, so you can then use the structure to look at how the response is coordinated at a legislative level in terms of the response by provinces and how the response by the national filters down to the provincial level. Also, to serve as an advisory body or as a peer review mechanism to say, if, as we were saying earlier, we have provinces that are doing well in certain aspects of tourism. So it can then act as an advisory body or a peer review mechanism to ensure that other provinces as well upgrade their oversight work or tourism development and marketing in general. So from time to time, there might be national campaigns to drive tourism development based on the agenda items or priorities that the forum will identify. Then based on those, then there might be national campaigns. For example, if we say that transformation, for example, is taken as an issue that needs to be addressed at a national level. So every province will have to then lash on that particular campaign, and it will be monitored by the structure to say how then are we faring on those particular aspects. Then also it will work to identify, the chairperson alluded to the challenge in dealing with issues on the ground at a village, at a township, or a small dorpy level. So the structure will assist in identifying people or organization at a ground level that can assist in the oversight and therefore development and marketing. Also, the structure will help as a liaison with municipalities, because as the chair was saying, we have a lot of challenges at a municipal level. So there will be priorities identified at a national level, but then the provinces will be at a coalface in terms of ensuring that such national priorities are addressed at, for example, if we look at how we are ensuring that tourism is integrated in the IDPs, it will then be a matter of the forum to say we want to ensure that all provinces assist municipalities in ensuring that tourism is part of the IDP. So that is a matter that can be tracked when the forum meets to say, in this particular province, we have so many municipalities, then we look at their IDPs if tourism has been integrated accordingly. Moving forward to the next slide, the guiding principles. I'll just cruise over this, Chair. Is that the committee felt that it should conduct its oversight in its essence, but in so doing, not be antagonistic and collaborate in a collaborative manner and reciprocative approach of oversight as you work with all provinces, meaning what is happening at a national level should also be happening at a provincial in terms of tracking key strategic issues in terms of tourism, but also aligning the national, provincial, and local oversight activities, thus achieving effective and efficient oversight. And then there will be resolutions. So the principle will be every resolution taken by the forum must be kind of binding, so that when tracking is done, at least every province, including Parliament, can account in terms of the implementation of those resolutions. Then the issue of communication and transparency when dealing with issues of the forum. With regard to the duration, Chair, it will not be dissolved. It will start now in the 6th Parliament, but the suggestion, as discussed in the last meeting, was to say the forum should not be dissolved, but the legacy report for the 6th Parliament should recommend to the 7th Parliament that such a structure should continue. Moving ahead to the terms of reference. Next slide. The composition will be the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Tourism, and then the chairpersons of the portfolio committees responsible for tourism in provinces, the chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leadership, the chairperson of SALGA, and parliamentary legislatures support staff. But this chairperson does not exclude members. It will be all members of by invitation by their chairperson. It's just that at a structural level, it's just the chairpersons that form part of the structure, but it does not preclude others from joining. Then there will be other members that will be joining the forum by invitation, like the chairperson of South African Tourism, the chairperson of the TPCSA, the chairpersons of provincial destination management organizations, that is in terms of particularly the marketing function. Then the minister, the director general from time to time might be requested to join the meeting. Sometimes ministers of other sector departments, MECs responsible for tourism, the heads of departments, and the chairpersons of portfolio committees responsible for tourism at a metro, district, or even local municipality, particularly when there are road shows or the round robining of the forum meetings. Then in terms of leadership or the chairmanship of the forum, the chairperson of the portfolio committee on tourism in Parliament will be the permanent chairperson. However, he will be hosting meetings with the chairperson of provinces if the meetings are held in various provinces. So he remains the chairperson of the PC at a national level, remains a permanent one, but will be a co-chair with the provincial chairpersons. And in case of a chairperson or at a provincial level or national not available, then the whip of the PC at a national level will become a member, and then vice versa with the provinces. So it should do the chairpersons or the whip in terms of chairing meetings. And then in case of the issues which will be dealing with other issues, because you'll find that there will be many other issues that will have to be dealt with by the forum. So the chairpersons will decide from time to time how those issues are handled. But the comprehensive, as I said, this is a redacted version. The comprehensive document carries all the details in terms of the general administration or the secretariat. The secretariat in Parliament we will anchor the forum, but this will be done in partnership with the provincial support staff, and the determination of the agenda items will be submitted to the secretariat and distributed before meetings, and the timeframes are all contained in the document. Then the meetings will be convened quarterly, and then the minutes also will be dealt with by the secretariat at a national level in collaboration with the hosting provinces. Then also the identification of issues. Now, there are issues of reporting, Chairperson. With regard to reporting, in those quarterly meetings, each province will be requested to provide a brief report in terms of the current state of affairs in the provinces whenever the meetings are held. So it will be a standing reporting item that every province will be given a chance to have inputs in every meeting, Chairperson. And moving ahead, should there be any issue that needs to be resolved by the forum, the Intergovernmental Relations Act will be followed in terms of the provisions there. There are guidelines for effective conflict management contained in the international relations framework. So that will be done so that there are no disputes, particularly in terms of resolutions and any other matter that might arise, Chairperson. And moving forward, now there are issues that will chart some of the issues Chairperson has touched on. What is currently happening with the parliamentary process? The terms of reference have been submitted to Parliament, and also attached to that is the memorandum of understanding that was, if I'm not mistaken, circulated to provinces, and that needs to be finalized. We are still awaiting the response from the support staff, Chairperson point of view, in terms of how the documents are then formalized by Parliament. So it is the terms of reference as sent to the legislatures for this particular meeting, together with the memorandum of understanding that is still vetted by Parliament Legal Services. Then after that has been done, then the forum will be finalized. So we request, Chair, that the provinces maybe go through the same process so that there are no disputes later to say maybe the forum was not duly constituted and so on. So as Parliament, as we are going through the process of vetting these documents, so the request that the provinces also do the same, so that the final documents are kind of legal documents that cannot create some disputes later. And also, there was a request that the provinces should send the list of their villages to the secretariats. The National House of Traditional Leaders had made an undertaking that they will assist in that regard, but provinces are requested to ensure that they facilitate that process so that we can move to the last point, Chair, of the formalization of village tourism forums, because as part of the implementation, as the Chair alluded earlier, that there will be village tourism forums. It means at a local level, there will be people identified by provinces together with municipalities that will assist to raise these issues, so that you always have current issues that are filtering through to the provinces and eventually to the national level. I try to summarize the documents, Chairperson. That is where I end it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Kuzwayo. Our colleagues from the rest of the provinces, Dr. Kuzwayo is one of the support staff to the Tourism Portfolio Committee. He's with Ndadebo Tina, who is the administrator of the committee. We also have Luziso. It's Luziso, ne? The doctor.
It's Nozuko.
Oh, Nozuko. Sorry, Noz. It's Nozuko. I'm now talking steady, sorry. Okay. My apologies. Yeah, so that is the doctor about the presentation. So, honorable members, the intention clearly here includes, among other things, how as a sector we must attend to the issue of transformation in the tourism sector. You will see when you read the document that it's one of the issues we think requires continuous attention. We have taken a decision as the National Parliament Portfolio Committee that September every year, we are starting this year, we are going to be informing South Africans on the extent to which we think the tourism sector is transforming or has transformed, and what else must be done to accelerate transformation so that future generations can inherit from us a better transformed tourism sector in the Republic of South Africa. We will give provinces to comment and start with Limpopo. I will request that in your comments, honorable members, you also just indicate when do you think we can be able to receive information that relates to the total number of villages in your province, total number of townships, total number of small towns, your small dorpies. The reason why we must generate this information ourselves is because it's not there in the Stats SA. We've tried it on several occasions, but we can't stop generating that information ourselves. As Ndate Kuzwayo was saying, the chair of the National House of Traditional Leaders, when we met with them and they also approved the approach, they agreed to work with us and they will give us the list of villages. So we will see how far we go with them. Limpopo? Mpumalanga?
Chair, it's Honorable Lakshmi Narain from Mpumalanga. I'm the chairperson for the Portfolio Committee on Economic Development and Tourism. My views, I think first, let me welcome and appreciate the invitation to attend this meeting. We weren't invited in December, hence our fallback with regard to the information relating to townships. Nevertheless, thank you. Nevertheless, thank you for the invitation. And yeah, the perspective coming from national, we appreciate it because I feel like with the provincial and national sphere operating independently, it normally creates a duplication of responsibilities. So while as in Mpumalanga legislature, we might give attention to a specific part of tourism, national might not know, and then national does the same. So I welcome that part that we are taking to make sure that there's no duplications of attention given throughout the province. My side, I've always said that tourism is one of the departments that helps us to create jobs for our people in the townships. What concerns me is that mostly our guest houses and our bed and breakfasts in the townships are not given the proper attention they deserve. So you won't have the similar grading in a township than what you would have in a city. And I feel we need to assist our people there in the townships to get them the necessary grading So when people are visiting from abroad, they can visit these historic venues. Let me say. But I think as in Mpumalanga province, we also take our province tourism for granted. So we are taking Kruger National Park, we are taking our God's Window, our Rindavels as a norm. Every year it should be a norm that this is the only tourism places that we can visit. And I always say in our committee, you know, I take my hats off to KZN, who went one step further to the Moses Mabhida Stadium. I visited the stadium, and it delighted me to see that even after the stadium was built, there is still production that's taking place on the stadium itself, which is what I say in Mbombela, our Mbombela Stadium. We need to utilize that stadium so that it can bring in funds as well. Yeah, on my side, I feel that also our tourist attractions need to be maintained. Yes, it is there, but the proper maintenance needs to be there so it meets the adequate level. And we have lovely mountains, you know. I always say that why do we have to go to Western Cape to look at Table Mountain when Mpumalanga has lovely mountains across the province? So we need to utilize that and come up with ideas. As a youngest member of the legislature in Mpumalanga, I feel that we need to give young opinions and young views. Yeah, those are my views. Thank you again.
Thank you, Honorable M. Yeah, Jalabo Khabaya, thank you, man. Let's go to KZN. Eastern Cape.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope you can hear me well.
You are very audible, Comrade, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me start with the submission of information. I'm a bit handicapped for today because my coordinator is writing exams, and I instructed him as we're coming back from Cape Town last year to facilitate and submit the information as it relates to small towns as well as villages and all the information that was required in the last meeting. But okay. I will only be able, Honorable Chair, to ascertain whether the information reached your offices by Monday next week. That's one. Fine. In relation, Chair, to the document, we welcome it as the province, and we can say that it's going to be able to make sure that as we do the oversight work, we can be able to coordinate our activities as the whole country, so that we do not sit in a corner as one province and deal with tourism issues. Of course, as Eastern Cape, as much as we think we are the tourism destination of choice, our infrastructure backlog is affecting our tourism badly, and some of the issues will need to be able to dealt with by us, as well as some intervention from the national government. Thank you very much, Chair.
Sure, Honorable Member. Thanks very much. Let's go to Western Cape.
Honourable Chair, this is Honourable van der Westhuizen, member of the Western Cape's Committee on Finance, but also then Economic Development and Tourism. I do see that our chair, for whom we've submitted an apology earlier, wrote and received a response from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism towards the end of last year. And I was surprised when you stated in your invitation that that report hasn't been forwarded to you. It's dated the 9th of December last year, and I presume that it emanated from an earlier request to you. But what I can tell you is that we've got a list, or the head of department listed 100 towns and settlements in terms of settlement classification and municipal location. Then also there were 67 townships listed. Now, in some of our smaller dorpies, the townships are not recognized as separate from the almost want to say this, the central activity of those smaller towns. But we've got that list, and we can certainly forward it to you if it hasn't been done to date. I don't know if you would like me to just expand on some of the initiatives that I do know that that are. Okay, you say I can continue. Chair, in the Western Cape, we've been working very hard on the promotion of what we call, for example, homestays, and also the marketing of that. Also, restaurants serving traditional food and having cultural activities such as dances, etc., which seem to be very popular amongst particularly your international tourists. And then what I can point out is that an investment in training has also seen quite a significant expansion then, although a lot of work still needs to be done in allowing people to set up their own shuttle services, to act as tourism guides, particularly people specializing in things such as township tours, heritage tours, and also obviously with our wonderful natural beauty in the Western Cape, people taking groups of tourists, particularly smaller groups, on hikes, on cycling excursions, and also informing them about the wonderful biodiversity that we have here in the Western Cape. So while there are a lot of what I would call green fields, young initiatives, obviously I need to point out to you that many of these people have been hit extremely hard by the lockdown activities, the fears of tourists, and also obviously the fact that tourism has not been seen as an essential service, as one can probably understand. But I can just assure you that many of these young and smaller tourism initiatives have been going through a very, very hard time over the last few months, and we do hope that with the necessary hygiene regulations, there will be a return and there will be a bright future for these entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for the briefing. And we apologize for indicating in the report that you had not submitted the report as was requested. That will be corrected. Don't worry. And thanks for the briefing. Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just by way of introduction again, my name is Honorable Fisia Hassan, to everybody tuning in from home. I'm here representing Gauteng as the acting chairperson. A few things. I think let me first comment on what has been presented, and then I'll speak a little bit about what we've got here. I think the first thing we note, all of us, that the tourism sector has been ultimately decimated by COVID-19. And I see a huge opportunity with this Legislative Oversight Forum to rebuild the tourism sector and to rebuild it in a way that's far more efficient and I think far more useful, not just to us as lawmakers, but really to the public and to the people we represent. So first thing on that, in this whole process, I agree with you when you spoke around accelerating transformation. We need to take that and put that at the top of the agenda. Training and funding need to be fundamental. So we're not just saying we're transforming the sector, we're actually giving opportunities, particularly to marginalized groups. And that includes, and I must always raise young people. I know the honorable member from Mpumalanga also mentioned she's the youngest MPL. I'm also the youngest MPL in Gauteng. I'm 26. I'm part of this youth generation. So must put young people at the forefront. And also because there's huge opportunities for us to train, upskill, and employ young people in the space. So I think there's big opportunity there. Of course, like I said, marginalized group, including women, people living with disabilities, and even to a large extent, share the LGBTQIA+ community, who are historically and even currently being marginalized and being abused and are even finding it very difficult to get jobs in the mainstream economy. And there's something we can assist in there. And I think that will really help break sort of older, untransformed patterns of tourism. So yes, I agree that's an excellent idea, and I quite like the idea that it's similar to what we would call the ministerial MEC meetings, because it forces us to touch base every few quarters, and I think it's, like I said, it's going to solve issues faster. There's also the noting that some issues are local, some are provincial, some are national, and I think this forum will help us identify who needs to do what. So we may need national legislation, or we may need provincial intervention, and this will be quite a big opportunity for us. And now let me just answer your initial request. So like I said, I'm the acting chairperson. We have in fact forwarded this request to our, we have called the Gauteng Tourism Authority, GTA, and we're waiting on a response from that. But just an apology from our side, it's taking a bit longer than expected just due to the change in chairpersonship at the moment. And then lastly, from Gauteng's side, and I think it's really important to mention this, I spoke about the impact of COVID-19 and our ability to rebuild the tourism sector. But recently, we conducted a focused intervention study in FIS, particularly on tourism and destination marketing. And as the portfolio committee, we felt that the province is not doing enough to reposition Gauteng as a destination of choice, especially with a focus on township tourism. Right now, we're examining the existing strategies, but we're putting a lot of pressure. And ultimately, and this is actually resulted in the Gauteng provincial government through the Department of Economic Development and ultimately the Tourism Authority, they're going to be implementing this 40 million rand over the MTEF, but they're also working with the Premier's office to review and introduce a new destination marketing and brand strategy for the province. And that strategy is going to take into account at the top there the plights of the township tourism economy and how we can reconfigure the tourism portfolio in our province, which is mainly before biased towards established sort of sites and tourism sector, but more to providing opportunities to the smaller, not necessarily companies, but even people who are providing tourism opportunities. So hopefully in the next quarter, we'll be able to present back on the feedback and really where we are on that. But for us, it's really around transforming. And the last thing is Gauteng will be the gateway. Hopefully in the next few years, anyone who comes through the country will be coming through Gauteng, and we will be providing something as we go along through that. And that will hopefully create more jobs opportunities, especially for young people, especially for women.
Are we done?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Honorable Hassan. Thanks very much. And we must thank and salute Gauteng and Mpumalanga for deploying the youth. The youth are the future. In as far as deploying them in as far as tourism portfolio committee is concerned. So we are your products and we will continue to be indebted to you, young people. Thanks very much for that. Let's go to the Freestad. Freestad is not there, Northern Cape. Ntadebo Tina, it looks like you haven't been recording the meeting. Doctor Kuzwa.
Chairperson.
Just make sure that it looks like Ntadebo Tina can hear me, that the meeting's proceedings have been recorded.
Yeah, I've been trying to communicate the same. I'll keep on checking him, Chair.
Okay. Nurkap.
Chair, it seems like they are not there. You can see that the young ones from Gauteng and Mpumalanga, they are there, Chair. They are on the board.
April, you are welcome. You are welcome. Northwest,
Thanks, Chair. My apology, I won't be able to switch the video on because of the network problem, but the person appearing here is the one who will be talking. So I'm just going to switch the video off.
Yeah, proceed. We can see you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Let me thanks for the opportunity. I think part of what I'm going to take the committee through is actually what we have presented in December. And the chair was not there. However, we managed to send through the staff of the committee. But in brief, we managed to consolidate in terms of profiling. The approach was that we activated our research staff, including part of the oversight, that we communicated with both municipalities and the department such that we are able to get to each and every corner of the province. And as a result, we then came to a conclusion through the information that is verified by the department that the province is having 678 villages, 107 townships, and 37 small towns. That's basically the three that forms the Northwest Province. And the villages and the townships and small dorpies, as indicated, is actually broken down into districts as well as municipalities. So sitting where we are as the committee, we are able to have a better understanding. Our province is having 4 districts, and we are able to locate the number of villages per district, per municipality, which then breaks down even in a municipality into how many villages per ward. So what we are now zooming into now is to get into even the profiling of the municipalities through their IDPs to check how they plan, because we are interested in getting their plans being informed by the profile of the whole province per their municipalities. That work is done and verified. The task at hand as of now, Honorable Chair, is that we have now resolved as a committee in terms of how we're going to approach the oversight. We have then resolved as a committee that the oversight focus, when we deal with tourism, we will have to look into the oversight per district. For every setup of the department, we will have to reflect on how the performance of the department is being carried in terms of the statistics, to say when they are bringing to the committee how they are doing, they will have to reflect it per district, per municipality, and per villages, per townships, and per small dorpy. How the department integrate the district development model. We have also received the presentation from the department when they were doing their 5-year strat plan and their draft APPs, and we have then influenced the planning of the department such that it talks to the issues that relates to what we want to achieve in terms of reflecting performance on villages, townships, and small towns. We had a bit of argument, Chair, if I am to relate to the committee, on a better understanding of the department in relation to the difference between the villages and the rural areas. There's a slight difference. In fact, there's a vast difference between villages and rural areas. When you get to the Northwest, when you drive from Mahikeng to Vryburg, there is a mine on the other side. That mine is in a rural area, but there is a village called Setlagole. So there's a difference, and that's why we appreciate the initiative of starting to classify this as villages, because there are also farms which are in the rural areas, which are actually at the level of the economic or commercial farming. And yet we also have villages in the same areas where people are not yet at a stage of being commercial. Now, we also concentrated, Chair, on exploring the COVID-19 opportunity in terms of the tourism sector. Well,
it looks like we have lost the connection to the honorable member from Northwest Bukonbu Prima, Honorable Nkupani. That's part of the challenges of infrastructure in as far as connectivity is concerned. We hope she will be able to come back. Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, I don't know if you are able to clarify our colleagues from the provinces on some issues. One of the issues raised, for instance, is around grading. So, House Lucy, if you can just indicate our interactions with the grading council and what our proposals are, so that our provincial collectives can be at the same level of understanding on that particular matter. House Lucy?
Thank you, Chairperson, members and colleagues.
The network is not that good.
Allow me.
Honorable Muteka, Honorable Makubela, the network is not good. Honorable Muteka, can you maybe brief our provinces on our attitude and proposal in as far as issues of the grading council is concerned?
To appreciate, first and foremost, this collaborative effort that we are doing as the legislature conduct our oversight work. We believe that as we put together our resources, we can be, the network is not, let me show the video then. Am I, okay, am I audible now?
Yes. Now that I hear you, Honorable Makubela. We can't see you.
Okay, no, Chair.
Yeah.
I thought Mr. Honorable Mutika will be continuing.
Yeah, your network is not very good, Lucy.
Okay, Chair. Then I think I will not speak. Perhaps another honorable member can.
No,
be
now
able
we
to
can
continue.
hear you. Now you are clear. Now you are clear.
She's audible now, yes.
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Chairperson. It was just an appreciation of the work that we are doing in our collaborative as the National Parliament, together with the legislators, to ensure that our oversight work is done in a collaborative manner, in a way that we can be able to leverage on what we call economies of scale. When we put together our resources, we believe that we can be able to stretch to even reach further than what we were going to reach if we were still working in silos. Chairperson, allow me to perhaps take the honorable members on board on the work that we have done thus in terms of
Honorable Makubela, can you switch on your video?
Are working with the grading.
Honorable Makubela?
Aspect. Yes, Chairperson, am I audible now?
Yes. Yeah, you keep on breaking, but can you also switch on your video? Honorable Gumba, we can see you are on now. Welcome. Yeah, we can. Okay,
Yes,
proceed, Honorable Makubela.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, you are welcome, Honorable Gumbi.
Am I audible, Chairperson?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes, we have interacted with the grading aspect of the tourism value chain to ensure that the basket of goods or the incentives that are around the grading model are enticing enough for establishments to be able to see the value of grading, because we believe that grading plays an important and integral part of the tourism value chain, because it talks to the quality of the tourism product. It also talks to the value for the money in which a tourist is able to spend, and it also talks to the value of the tourism, because you want to buy a product which you can be able to quantify and value. It also talks to our visitor experience. But we have seen that the work that, or the basket of products that were put within the grading space had challenges. Now, as the portfolio
Honorable Makubela, I think you must just mute my sister. Yeah, you are not audible. Yeah. But basically, honorable members, the point we are making around the grading council issues is that as the entire sector, we must push for grading to be compulsory. But that grading should not be at the cost of those who own establishments, particularly those who are poor. So the discussions between us and the department are such that in terms of the white paper process, which the department is embarking upon, which according to the minister should be concluded before the end of the next financial year, it must take into account the recommendation we have made around the issue of grading, including the criteria that the grading council uses to grade your establishment. So we hope that going forward, that matter will be attended to by the department working together with the grading council. The other matter that was raised, which we welcome honorable members from provinces, is making sure that our approach of ensuring presence of tourism in every village, in every township, in every small town throughout South Africa is based or is done in the context of the district model. So we agree with that proposal, we agree with that approach, that because the executive is adopting an approach that is informed by the district model. As a committee, when we look at tourism prevalence in every village, in every township and small town, we will do that in the context of the district. So, and within the district, we'll look at having our Legislative Tourism Oversight Forum at the district, and also at the municipal level, and also at the lowest level, which is the village, the township, and the small town. So we we agree with you in as far as that particular proposal is concerned. I also think that we agree as the committee, working together with our provinces, that maybe what we should do is to give provinces until the end of July for us to receive information as it relates to the total number of villages that are there in every province. We will request that that information, when it comes, it must come showing how many villages and townships and small towns are in each one of the districts, each one of the municipalities. Because we'll then have to work with municipalities to ensure that we intensify oversight on this particular matters. Honorable members of the committee, I don't know if there are other issues that you think you would also want to emphasize to our counterparts in provinces. Honorable Moteka.
Honorable Komba, please.
Honorable Moteka, proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. There's no much. It's just I'm concerned, Chairperson, because I see other provinces didn't attend this meeting as they did in December. So it means for them, they are going to start from zero. Let me also commend those who have attended the meeting, more especially Northwest. You see, what they have presented here, it shows how serious they take this initiative by the portfolio committee, because they went down to the villages, to the small towns and all those things. That's the kind of information we're looking for since December. And I don't understand why people who are leading the provinces, people who are leading those who need these improvements and the services are not taking this initiative serious. Because the main purpose of this portfolio committee of the 6th Parliament is to make sure the most village child is benefiting out of tourism. But now it's going to go very slow, Chairperson. I don't know what power can we use to force provinces to comply. Because Western Cape and Gauteng, although they still need to improve here and there, but at least something is happening. And they attended the meeting. But the poorest provinces, they are not doing it. So it is very worrying. It's worrying, Chairperson. I just want to comment on something from the Western Cape. I heard the presenter saying they didn't separate townships from the central activity. So I want to understand what does it mean, because we want to know what is happening in Kailija, and Kailija cannot be combined with CBD. Otherwise, when we do oversight, we'll be confused and we won't get our point better. I just want to understand that point of saying they didn't separate township from the central activity. What does it mean? Because we want the township to be separated so that our oversight can identify whether it is happening in Philippines. There is improvement in Kailija. There is improvement like that. So I just want clarity on that. And then after all, I'm disappointed with Limpopo and other areas that they never attend these meetings, whereas they are in the core. They are the core of the whole thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gomba.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Chair, let me first.
Sure, please, Honorable Member.
Chair?
Just switch on your video.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm here, Chair. Chair, let me first start by appreciating the attendance of the members of the following provinces: Western Cape, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and Northwest. Chair, I have the same concern
There is also
with
Eastern
regard and Eastern Cape. Okay, Eastern Cape. Yes, I saw that I missed one province here. Thank you very much for the correction, Chair. And I'm worried, Chair, the same as Honorable Muteka, to say that Free State, Limpopo, Northern Cape, and KZN were not part of this important meeting. And my question is, are we taken seriously as the members of the committee, especially in the national and National Parliament of the Republic of South Africa? There's a disturbance somewhere, Chair. I'm not sure who's opening the microphone while we are speaking.
Honorable members, if you can just mute your microphones.
Yes, because they are disturbing us, Chair. Thank you very much. Chair, my worry here is if we have to plan together and we find someone is still
people switch off their microphones, please.
Bitang lenkopane o time microphone.
Ah?
Bitang lenkopane time microphone. Thank you.
She's off.
Now you're got half an hour to get.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I audible, Chair?
Yeah, you are audible. If we can be brief, because there's a sitting at 2 o'clock.
Yes, yes, Chair, I'm aware of that. So I wanted to also raise the fact that we really need to make a follow-up. We cannot just leave this unattended, because if this can actually grow to become a habit of undermining the call by the National Parliament Tourism Portfolio Committee. Chair, the issue here is I'm very much also impressed about the Northwest presentation that showed that they are profiling tourism establishment. They also have made sure that they actually allocate their villages according to the district and made 4 districts out of it, and profiling of municipalities in tourism. So I am very much also impressed about it. It means they know exactly what our portfolio committee is intending to do. Chair, the Western Cape did not actually elaborate much on the townships and villages and the rural areas, or if I can say that, which shows that the interest is not there for those ones that we think that they really need our support as a committee to ensure that they also grow. Chair, I also want to advise all the provinces, including the ones that are not here and those ones which are here, to say they need to also ensure that the local municipalities are looking at drafting proper master plans for tourism, because that is where the problem starts, Chair. If the master plan of the local municipality is not up to scratch, it even becomes very difficult for the Department of Tourism to assist in terms of funding. I thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable April. Honorable April. Okay, it doesn't look like Honorable April is there. Just before we wrap up, is there any province that will want to clarify 1 or 2 things?
Chair, I'd like to speak as well, please.
Chair, I would like to respond.
Who is that?
Chair, it's Honourable Mitchell from the Western Cape.
Oh, and yes.
The Freitas as well, please.
Honourable Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair.
Greg Crumbach as well, please.
Michelle, just before you come on, Honorable Crumbach, proceed.
No, I'll speak after the Freitas and Honourable Mitchell, if that's okay.
Honourable Chair.
Honourable Stolle.
Okay, Honourable Michelle, proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity. Chair, I want to clarify the statement that was made Firstly, let me from the offset say that the presentation or the submission by the Western Cape was merely a summary of what has already been submitted to the committee. I want to state under townships, the 67 townships as identified and as submitted to the committee has been identified in alignment used by the National Treasury Neighbourhood Development Programme, and that definition has been used. So it's incorrect for the committee to believe that there is no focus on township or rural tourism in the Western Cape. In fact, the city of Cape Town, as the municipality, has a focus on township tourism as well as the Western Cape through various stakeholders, but in particular the Westgrow, who is ultimately tasked on behalf or work with the Western Cape government to do township and rural tourism in the province. So the perception that is being created that there's no focus on township and rural tourism is incorrect. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that clarity. Honorable Krambok.
And then the Freitas, please.
I just wanted to ask a question, bearing in mind the nature of our meeting today. The role as we interact with each other as members of the Portfolio Committee at National Assembly level, the MECs at provincial level, and then, of course, the various officials and elected representatives at municipal level. We are guided, obviously, by the Constitution, which promotes cooperative governance, and that's the way it should be. But if I can just draw an example, for example, to our oversight visit, which was also attended by the province and the municipality to the Howick Falls. Since then, the situation, and it's been a while since we were there now, has considerably worsened. And it begs the question as to what the role of the municipality is when province and national try to work together with them to try and improve things. Can we get some guidance as to how these matters ought to be taken forward when there is a intra-government or all three spheres of government do ostensibly cooperate, but then the recommendations that you enumerated with the help of the liaison officer of the department are actually not implemented. And in fact, now we've had something akin to a land invasion, and the situation has got very, very much worse since you were there. I'd like some clarity as to how we can get the municipalities to work with us so that these trips don't simply become a tick box exercise and actually end up in a situation where we might as well not have gone at all. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Krambok.
Chair, can you hear me? Chair?
Is it Honorable Gallo?
The Freitas here.
Oh, Honorable Freitas.
Chair.
May I go ahead?
Yeah, proceed, Honorable Freitas.
Chair, I know we're running out of time, so I just want to quickly thank all the provinces for being here. I just wanted to make a following comments, and that is one of the provincial delegates, kind of compared their province with another, and I think we must have the mindset to understand that we have 9 different unique provinces, and we must look at the best that those provinces have without worrying or comparing ourselves with another province. So that was my first point, and that also when the presentation was being made, it was talked about how certain provinces are doing better in certain aspects than others. And my point is the reality is because the provinces are so different, some provinces will do better in certain aspects than others. But as long as they're all working in those different tourism sectors, that's what that matters. The reality is we're not always going to be the same because the provinces are so unique and different. I just wanted to bring as well, if we could just make a note that as part of this forum, we need to somehow also include local government. I think Honourable Krambok has covered some of it. I'm most concerned, you'll see I did write to you a letter as an example, is the Howick, I'll use that because we were there, the Howick Falls example, where we need to make sure that the local government actually does what they need to do, and then we have a capable state, because then you have a situation where I've seen the photos, actually worse than when we were there. And then my last point is that we need to, there's just got to be coordination, which you're spearheading. So as long as the different tiers coordinate and talk to each other, and I think this is a great initiative to start where we are now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Defrators. Honorable Lenkopani, I can see you are back. You got cut. Do
And
you want to
Gumbi,
wrap up?
could I please, Gumbi, also, I've had my hand up for some time. I just want to make a quick comment.
Oh, sorry, Honorable Gumbi. Proceed.
Okay, sure.
Well,
No, thanks very much. Okay, thanks very much, Chairperson. Thanks very much, Chairperson. I think there was some comments made around the grading thing, and you did speak to it as well. But I think we must also just be clear around the grading thing, because we've had some answers, not only in questions that I've submitted, but as well as answers in the portfolio committee when it was presented, which speaks to the average costs being around the region of, the one answer was around 4,700 Rand. The other answer was over 5,000 Rand in terms of the average cost of grading per annum. And even that even goes with all these incentives that are being given out to drop the costs. And the clear thing which there was agreement on, which we felt, and which certainly is the position that we stand on, is that grading should ultimately be free of charge. So what often happens, especially in politics, is that you have your officials who come in, and then they co-opt you into a position that they want you to take. And then as politicians, they lead you by the nose and to say that almost you should take that position that they've decided on. And I think we should be steadfast in our position. The second part goes to the part that my colleagues have spoken about, more eloquently so by Honorable Crumbach. And what in essence is that we need to, as a portfolio committee, have a clear-cut schedule of where it oftentimes comes with resolutions, where we do oversight visits, and where we work in terms of a cooperative governance space to try to get certain things done which benefits province, local, and national. So Howick Falls was a very specific example. And we should just assume at this point in time that local governments is actually in a poor state, and that more often than not, the likelihood is that even after these interactions, things aren't implemented. And therefore, if we say that by January, we expect certain outcomes, a standing invitation should already be sitting, whether it's with that municipality or whoever, to come and present on the outcomes of that. So that the portfolio committee isn't a portfolio committee that basically puts its hands up and say that, it's not in our terrain, there's nothing we can do, but we also take accountability and responsibility to ensure that it happens as the oversight body. But thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Honorable Gumbi. Ma'am Kopani, you can see you are back now. You got cut. Do you want to wrap up? Honorable Lenkopani? Okay, it doesn't look like Honorable Lenkopani can hear us. Honorable members, I think if there are no other members of the committee who want to say something, and our colleagues from the provinces, we can then wrap up.
Honorable Chair.
Okay,
Honorable Chair.
Yeah, proceed, Honorable Stole.
Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, only one thing that I want to be input on the, if the provinces can give us the list of activities that are happening in their districts, because it can help us to monitor on what are they doing in their municipalities, because you see sometimes it is very good if you have the information that will inform you what you can do. And the other one, Chairperson, the capacity, if they can give us the capacity of their staff, because of their officials, because one day I visited Nkandla. I found that most of the officials that are working in the local municipalities actually don't understand what is happening in the tourism sectors. So if they can actually give us some program of the capacitations that they have in their municipalities. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much. Was it Honorable Gallo who wanted to say something? Okay, members of the Portfolio Committee from Parliament, is there any other member who still wants to say something? Okay, thank
Comrade
you very
Chair.
much.
Comrade Chair.
Yes, yes, who's that? Is it Honorable Gallo?
Yes.
Okay, Honorable Gallo.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Honorable Gomba, you want to speak again?
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Gallo, proceed.
Can you hear me, Chair?
Yeah, proceed, proceed. Gaan voor, meneer Koba.
Okay, thank you, Chair. No, I've checked the concept document, Honorable Chair. I just wanted to add something on your objectives, like the establishment of municipal tourism oversight forums at that level. Because if you get a report from other provinces, you will see that the local municipalities are not working on establishing these tourism programs. Lastly, I must commend some of the provinces that have attended this virtual meeting, like Limpopo, your Gauteng, and your Northwest. Their presentation was marvelous, Chair. I also got that Honorable Ndamasa from the East will submit the information on Monday. I'm not sure whether all the provinces have submitted their information, because we would like to have a comprehensive kind of document.
You have lost you, Honorable Gallo.
Which come again? Hello?
Proceed.
No, I'm done, Chair, in the interest of time.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Gallo. Honorable Gumba.
Yes, Chair, thank you very much for another opportunity. Chair, I just wanted to request that the committee really take this seriously, this non-attendance of other provinces, and we request that they must do it in writing and tell us the reasons of not appearing in front of the portfolio committee when they are called by the portfolio committee. We need it in writing and the reasons thereof. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I think we have given everyone an opportunity to say something. Honorable Lenkopane from the Northwest, Bugonibu Prima, got cut. We wanted to give her the opportunity to wrap up the report that she was presenting. Unfortunately, she's not on the line. So, honorable members, in terms of the way forward arising from this particular meeting, firstly, is that we are going on as the entire provincial and national committees of tourism to establish this forum, the Legislative Tourism Oversight Forum, which will be us at the national level plus our counterparts at the provincial level to become one thing. That is why we are agreeing that there must be a single national integrated tourism oversight kind of an approach throughout the country. So we agree on that. The second thing is that the information we expect from our counterparts in provinces will be according to the district, according to the municipal district, others it will be metro, according to the local municipal level, and then it will indicate how many villages are there, how many townships are there, including how many informal settlements are there and how many small towns are there. We must not forget, honorable members, that our focus is on dealing with problems of poverty, of inequality and unemployment, and how the executive is dealing with those challenges, particularly in our villages, in our townships, and in our small towns, without necessarily relegating the big cities that are there. So that will be the second thing. The third thing will be that we will continue to work with the National House of Traditional Leaders as the people who are responsible, the custodians of matters that take place at the village level. The fourth is that the provinces will go back, the chairpersons, convene their provincial legislature tourism committee meetings, and then brief the rest of the members of the portfolio committee at the provincial level on this forum, on the document that has been presented, and how we are going to work together going forward. Fifth is that as far as implementing this tourism oversight model is concerned, as I have said, we will hold the executive accountable in line with the decision of the executive to adopt a district service delivery model. So that is what we are going to be doing as the committee. Linked to that, we are going to be strengthening our relationship with all the municipalities throughout the country. An example has been given of how when we do oversight and we visit areas, progress is made at the snail's pace or is not done at all. An example that has been made here is Howick. The matter of Howick, honorable members, has been given to the Department of Tourism. We have also sent it to the province and the affected municipality. That we did last week. So as soon as there's progress on that particular matter, we will report. But it's not only Howick. Remember that in the reports we have been getting from the department on updates in as far as the implementation of the annual performance plan is concerned, we have looked at all projects throughout the country, in every province, in the municipalities, and we expect on an ongoing basis, as you know, as we get reports from the department according to the quarterly reports, we need to be focusing on those particular issues that were raised and agreed to with the department. I think we will all agree that where a need arises and we need to convene and call to Parliament a certain municipality to account on certain things, there is no problem with that because we work on the basis of Intergovernmental Framework Act. The Grading Council, yes, we have agreed and we hope provinces will agree to us that ultimately in South Africa we must have no one pay for the establishment to be graded. Because those who are poor, who are running small establishments, cannot be able to make a profit that will enable them to pay for the processes of grading their establishment. It's going to be worse now with the COVID-19 being around and with some of the establishments that are going to discontinue their business. So that is the way forward, honorable members. We will send, so that we don't discuss it here, we will send the dates of our quarterly meetings to the provinces, and we will continue to remind the provinces. We want to thank the provinces that came on board, the Western Cape, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, Gauteng, the formal apology we received from the Free State, and want to thank provinces that were not able to make it but sent alternates, like Gauteng, to come and interact with the portfolio committee today. We will follow on the other three provinces from whom we did not get an indication in as far as the absence from the meeting is concerned. I will urge that we don't conclude that we are undermining the portfolio committee. We can only arrive at a decision or at a certain assertion until we get a feedback from them on why they have not been able to make it to the meeting. So we want to thank you, honorable members, our provinces, as I've said, Northwest, Eastern Cape, Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and the Western Cape, the 5 provinces that came, including the Free State that formally apologized. So we have 6 out of 9 provinces on board. The other provinces, as I say, we will see how we talk to them going forward. But the most important thing is to build a very strong relationship with provinces. And I want to strengthen this to provinces. You are not accountable to us as provinces. We are not, because we are from parliament, we are not senior to you. We are one thing as the legislative oversight body on tourism. So we are equal, ourselves as national and you as the provinces. We are a body of a collective responsible for oversight on tourism. That is why we've established this forum, LETOFO, Legislative Tourism Oversight Forum. So when we sit as colleagues, we sit as equals. There's no senior, there's no junior. We deal with the issues of oversight on tourism and how it must contribute to the creation of jobs, to dealing with problems of inequality, dealing with problems of unemployment and poverty in the rest of the country. So we want to thank you for really contributing in the manner in which you did, provinces. So provinces can exit from the platform so that national members of the portfolio committee can then remain so that we can deal with our internal matters. So thank you very much, honorable members of the portfolio committee. Just before we close the meeting, the minutes were circulated for us. So I just want to get from the members if there is any fundamental issue you want to raise from the minutes. If there is none, can we get a mover for and a seconder for adoption of the minutes as a true reflection of what ensued in the last meeting?
I'm Matshidiso Melina Gomba. Would love to approve the minutes as what transpired in the previous meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Okay, Honorable Gallo, thank you very much. Is there anyone objecting to the adoption of the minutes as a true reflection of what ensued in the last meeting? 1, 2, 3, none. So the minutes are now adopted as a true reflection of what was discussed in the last meeting of the Tourism Portfolio Committee.
Chair.
Honorable members, there was a discussion between the chair of the committee on Honorable De Freitas on what incident of the last meeting. So I'm now going to give over to Honorable De Freitas to say whatever he wants to say. Honorable De Freitas, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Can everyone hear me? Sorry, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. Chair, I did try. I beg your pardon?
Your camera is off.
Are you on the camera on? Chair, sorry, I did try and get your attention at the last meeting, but the meeting was over before I could get your attention. And I did subsequently message you after the meeting. And some members were quite upset, and they were actually correct. I actually want to apologize, but I wanted to do it. I have apologized to you personally, but I wanted to do it in front of the committee. I wanted to apologize for the way I reacted to you. I don't think it was correct because you've been a very fair chairman and you've given everybody an opportunity to speak and so forth. And my emotional response wasn't correct. So I do apologize. You've been very gracious in that you've accepted the apology, but I did ask that I do it in front of the committee. I don't think it was fair on you. So I do apologize again, with my reaction, because you have always given everybody an opportunity to speak. And then while I'm speaking, Chair, I did send you a letter about the Howick Falls. I don't know if you want to discuss that separately. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair,
Thank you very much. Thanks very much, Honorable Freitas. Yes, I'll come to you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, I just want to confirm that Honorable De Freitas did send me a message indicating his remorsefulness in the manner in which he reacted in the last meeting. I then said to Honorable De Freitas that I'm accepting his apology. It's in the course of the work that we do in Parliament that from time to time there'll be differences, but how we manage those differences must show some signs of maturity as honorable members. So I've accepted Honorable De Freitas' apology. Let's hear what the committee members are saying. Honorable Gumba.
Chairperson.
Okay, Honorable
Lusizo.
Yes, Lucy.
Chairperson, can I beg for your indulgence? Can I request that since Honorable De Freitas has communicated with you and he has also apologized and addressed the committee, we leave it at that and we do not discuss this issue. Thank you.
Chair, it's not a discussion, it's just also an appreciation.
Okay.
Chair, I do understand what the whip is saying, but also I would love to really appreciate the manner in which the honourable member has acted in terms of being showing remorse, and also I want to say I really respect him for what he has done. It really shows that he is a responsible leader. Thank you so much for his apology, and we accept his apology. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, I think we all accept the gesture shown by Honorable De Freitas, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, we do, Chair.
Yes,
we really do, Chair.
Yes, Chairperson, we call it political maturity.
Okay, thank you very much. On that note, honorable members, of having accepted Honorable De Freitas' apology and having accepted and agreed on the way forward with the provinces, I really want to agree with the honorable members that we must thank the provinces for the manner in which they have responded in as far as our invite and working with them as a sector is concerned, and how generally we have dealt with some of the issues in the portfolio committee. So thank you very much. The matter that relates to the Microsoft platform, which is a bit problematic in terms of its user friendliness and connectivity. I have raised that matter with the authorities in Parliament. So we'll continue to raise it that we must migrate from Microsoft to Zoom, because Zoom is easier and we don't experience any problem. The entire Parliament uses Zoom in the parliamentary session. For instance, at 3 o'clock today, when we listen to Minister Kitombowen's budget, we are going to be using Zoom and not Microsoft. So Ndadebol Tina and the rest of the administration team, we hope that we can also impress upon the administrators to make sure that we discontinue the platform of Microsoft, because many members struggle not only to use it, but the problem was not using it. It's usability. It's not the network. It looks like it's very poor in as far as Microsoft is concerned. And members have been sending messages to say we must migrate to Zoom. So we'll try and do that. So, honorable members, this is how we come to the end of the meeting today of the Portfolio Committee dealing with the Legislative Tourism Oversight Forum. and working with the provinces. Thank you very much. See you later in the sitting of Parliament.
Bye-bye, Chair. Thank you very much for sharing the meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
President Gallo.
Thank you, Chair.
Hey, Tatamyeni. Hey, sawubona.
Sawubona, kunjani na?
Ah, gumba uyaphila man.
Hayi, kumbi. I miss you, guys.
Miss you too.